Hello all you YouTubers, this is part 2 of my testimony, so we're going to pick up where I left off. I left off saying God rewards truth-seeking, and He had worked with me over the past several years to soften my heart and bring me back to Him. Deuteronomy 4, verses 28 to 31 sounds as if it were written about me. It says, "There you will serve other gods made by human hands, objects of wood and stone that neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. From there you will seek the Lord, and you will find Him if you search after Him with all your heart and soul. In your distress, when all these things have happened to you in time to come, you will return to the Lord your God and heed Him." And this is the good part, this is the promise. "Because the Lord your God is a merciful God, He will neither abandon nor destroy you. He will not forget the covenant with your ancestors that He swore to them." January of 1996 was a turning point for me, and it came through prayer. My friend Jim was the liberal Christian that I mentioned earlier from Colorado. He was going through some rough times and asked me to pray for him. And I got the crazy idea that instead of praying to my gods, that I should pray to his God, because it was for him. His God made sense to me. So, let's see what I prayed. Going through some hard times, Jim Hamp asked me to pray for him. I began by praying to the goddess, then got the idea to pray for his God, and on at least 2 occasions I tacked on a part at the end. I just simply asked God, please help me to get to know you. You have to be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. It was a simple, sincere prayer, but God heard, and He answered. And this is where it really began for me, because before that, He had been working behind the scenes to draw me to Him, but now I had given Him permission to work openly in my life. God was just waiting for me to pray and ask Him, even though I wasn't a believer. I know that none of the rest would have happened if I had not said that prayer. This just goes to show how important prayer is, and that God will hear you and listen to you as long as you are sincere in your heart, even if you are not a Christian and don't follow Him. In February of 1996, I met Charles on the internet, and he was the beginning of the answer to my prayer, although I didn't know it at the time. I asked a question on the soch.religion.christian news group that prompted him to write to me, and the question was simply this: in 100 words or less, why are you a Christian instead of something else? Why do you believe? The 100 words or less was to prevent sermons, and I got a few of those anyway. But I've found that unless people can explain their beliefs succinctly, they probably don't know what they believe. And so that was the reason for the 100-word limit. Charles and I began corresponding, and soon we began to discuss salvation. Brought up by me in the context of hell, did he think I was going there? Right after that, his children started waking up with nightmares and terrifying visions. I didn't know what was going on, but Charles thought he knew. In March of 1996, I met Paul on the internet. I found him while I was looking for a tape by a guy named Jesse Manibusan. He invited me to a concert where Jesse would be opening for Margaret Becker, and I decided to go. I ditched 2 pagan events that night to attend that one Christian one. I didn't want to admit it even to myself, but I was searching. Excuse me while I organize my papers here. Okay. At the concert that night, March 30th, 1996, I met God. Earlier that evening, Jesse had played a song called "Open My Eyes," and the final verse goes like this. Open my heart, Lord, help me to love like you. Open my heart, Lord, help me to love. And I remember sitting there thinking, why would anyone want to love like this God? He's so mean. Look at the Old Testament, all the plagues and battles and smiting. How could anyone want to be like God? And yet later that night, I don't even remember what song Jesse was playing anymore, but later that night, I felt love. I asked myself, thought to myself, is it localized anywhere in this big room? We were in a gymnasium. But I came to the conclusion that no, it was everywhere at once. It was just, it filled the room. It was short. It didn't last that long, but it got my attention. The concert, I had the concert to distract me, and after that, Paul and his friends and I went out for dessert, and that helped so that I didn't have to think about things. But when I got home that night, in the quietness of my bedroom, I knew that I would have a lot of thinking to do, and... oh, sorry, there was a little glitch on the tape there. When I got home that night, I knew that I would have a lot of thinking to do, and I think it kind of scared me. Even then, I knew my life might change forever, and in retrospect, the concert was the point of no return for me, because after that, I could never again deny that God is love. The next day, I wrote an email to Charles, and this is what I wrote. Through Jesse and his music, I saw something I hadn't seen before, experienced something I hadn't experienced before. Last night, I felt love, and that was a new thing. This was the first time in my life that I had experienced God's love, and yet it shouldn't have surprised me, because 1 John 4, verse 8, and again in verse 16, it says, God is love. Throughout April of 1996, I had extensive email discussions with Charles, and this proved to be a good thing because I now have a pretty complete record of everything that transpired during that time and my thoughts and feelings on my experiences during that time. I can now go back and read those conversations anytime I want, and it's a wonderful gift. There were many ways that God called me during that month. One of his favorite ways to reach me even today is through secular love songs. And there were a couple that really touched me during that time. Love songs have always been spiritual to me, and it can be like God's talking to you. There were two songs. There was one that that went like this. I loved you, you didn't feel the same. Though we're apart, you are in my heart. Give me one more chance to make it real. And the other one is a song called Right Here Waiting. I believe it's by Richard Marx. And it says, wherever you go, whatever you do, I will be right here waiting for you. Whatever it takes or how my heart breaks, I will be right here waiting for you. And this is another good place to stop because we'll go on to Good Friday next. So, see you in part 3, YouTubers. Bye.